Hey everyone, thank you for coming out here this morning. As you would have seen over the past 24 hours, it's come out that I was asked to leave King's at the end of my fifth form. This was in 1999, and I've done a fair bit of media over the last 24 hours, but I'll just reiterate again what happened. It was the end of the year, end of my fifth form, and we ran into the third formers' dorm, raided them with three other students, and I punched a student in there numerous times in the arm and the body, and they were hurt from that experience, and subsequently I was asked to leave King's the next day, which I did. I've felt remorse and very upset about this for a long time. It was a significant moment in my life, and it changed my path a lot, but I mean it also had undoubtedly a significant impact on that person as well. And I'm not proud at all of who I was as a teenager, and I've said it to my mum and over the years that I look back and I don't really like that person because I did stuff that I'm not proud of at all. That I was effectively a bully, and I was a mean person, and there will be other people as well at high school that I have hurt one way or another, and for those people as well, I just want to apologise for that. I'm not proud of it at all, and I've reflected on it a lot. And with regards to the apology that I gave earlier last year, I spent a lot of time as I became an adult and matured mentally and got married and subsequently had children, thinking about what their life would be and my example that I set, and I reached out to the person involved and gave an apology, and it was sincere at the time, and it remains sincere today. I want to apologise deeply as I can to all of those involved. That I've grown a lot as a person, a tremendous amount as a person, and I'm a long way from that person that I was 20 odd years ago.
It's quite the baptism of fire for you in many ways. You've only been in Parliament for a few weeks, and so many media appearances over the last 24 hours to deal with this issue. What's it been like, sort of, coming into politics and having to deal with this so early on?
Well, the last 24 hours have been awful, frankly. Really upsetting for everyone, my family, but you know what? They're self-inflicted, because this is something that I've done, and look, I accept that. I take ownership of it, and it is what it is.
One of the big questions, I think, is that people will be wondering if the apology was opportunistic on your part, was it?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. No. And I've said that consistently, that I've reflected on this over the years, and when we got back to New Zealand, then I wanted to atone for this. It had a significant bearing on my life and changed the direction of it a fair bit, and obviously it had an emotional and physical impact on that person as well, and it's part of being a mature adult, able to empathise now, and which I wasn't very good at as a child or as a teenager. I wanted to reach out and apologise, and it was a genuine apology.
You obviously let the party know about all of this in the pre-selection process. Do you feel let down by the party?
No, I don't feel let down by the party. I made a full and clear written and verbal statement around what had happened. They appreciated that openness, and they ultimately saw that I was remorseful, genuinely remorseful, and that I was a significantly different person from that 16-year-old.
You ran on a platform of law and order. You spoke in your made a speech about cracking down on violence. Does that make you a hypocrite?
Look, it's an awful look. All I can do is apologise for what I've done, as I have and will continue to do. It doesn't help my cause in that regard, but we still do have issues around that need to be dealt with, and I'll continue to advocate for them.
Can you handle
You also spoke yesterday about wanting to make amends and said that it was a humiliating experience for me at the time onwards. What do you mean by humiliating experience for you?
Well, I mean, I really liked that school and that house, and I was forced to leave, and through my own actions, and get brought up every now and again, and it's, of course, it's a big black mark against my name, but it's also a significant problem for the person involved as well, who suffered emotional and physical trauma as a result of my actions.
Do you think it was a humiliating experience for them?
I definitely do.
So can you tell New Zealanders there are no other incidents like this that you're involved in at school or at university or any of those intervening years?
Yeah, like I said, at high school I wasn't a great person at all, and there will be other instances where I've hurt people one way or another, and I just wanted to be perfectly clear that stuff may come around that, and look, I'll confront that, and I'm apologetic, and I've looked back over my years since I've been an adult, and I've said to my wife and my parents, especially my mum, that I don't like the person I was when I was a teenager. I'm not proud of that person, and I'm a significantly different person to who I was back then.
What exactly you did was a crime?
Look, I mean, that's ultimately for other people to determine.
So you don't think that you should have been charged?
That's for them to determine. As it stood, the school acted appropriately and asked me to leave, which I did, and nothing further happened from that.
Do you think in different circumstances you might have been if you were a different person with different skin, perhaps?
I don't know. I can't speculate on that. I'm sorry.
But do you
This is on
recognise
your radar
that?
as a potential issue on the campaign trail. You said you thought it might come out. Why didn't you front-foot it?
Look, in hindsight, we probably should have given clear air and front-footed that. Ultimately, we didn't, and we are where we are today. And I've had a huge number of media appearances. I'm not trying to hide anything on this. I'm upfront about this. I'll own it. I take full responsibility, and I'm sorry for what has happened, and I'm a lot better person because of this experience.
Party's advice to you, when you disclosed this in the pre-selection process, what was the party's advice as to whether or not you should mention this publicly?
The advice around that, I don't recall if there was a discussion around whether we should disclose it properly, but the onus was on me to disclose it at pre-selection, which I did, and then it was for the party to determine what to do from there. I agree, we could have been more forthcoming during the by-election campaign.
So the party didn't say, don't mention it, they didn't say, keep it to yourself?
Not that I recall.
On the back of Ben's question, do you recognise that there are many people in this country who would have ended up in the justice system as opposed to being able to move on, go to a different school, leave the country?
That may well be the case.
How can people in New Zealand trust you to run a law and order campaign when you don't even know what the law is regarding beating people?
Look, I was 16-year-old, and I made a big mistake,
But do you acknowledge that is illegal, that is unlawful and a crime?
Look, I've got young children, and one day they will be at school, and if stuff like this happens, I would be very upset.
You talk about law and order all the time on the campaign trail in your maiden speech. Acknowledge that is illegal.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, mate. Yeah.
Appreciation is enough. It is unlawful.
Yeah.
Were you formally
Were
you formally expelled or just asked to leave?
I was asked to leave,
So
but I mean there was very little room for me. It was effectively asked to leave.
Was the nature of your departure disclosed to your next school?
Yes, of course it was. Yeah. And I believe they spoke to each other as well.
When you disclosed it to the party, did you have a direct conversation with Peter Goodfellow about the incident?
I had a direct conversation with the pre-selection committee, of which the board would have had oversight of.
So did you talk to Peter Goodfellow about the incident?
Yeah, Peter would have been aware of the
Do
incident.
you feel like you've got enough advice from the party, who've been long in the game compared to you, someone new? Do you think you've got enough advice from the party about how to handle it or, address the issue?
I'm not sure about that because I've never been through this before.
The Bay of Peng Times asked you about an incident, this is previous to the by-election, asked you about an incident that they believe to have happened at St Paul's Collegiate, obviously your next school.
Yeah.
And obviously you would have known what they were referencing, so why didn't you front foot it then when they were clearly referencing what had happened?
Because they were asking me whether I'd been... They didn't even ask me directly on that. They were wondering about me having been suspended from St Paul's.
Yes, but I mean, obviously that's very close to what happened at King, so why didn't you take that opportunity to come forward and say what had actually happened?
As far as I know, they didn't come forward with a question for our team. That there was a comment made about it, but I don't think the Bay of Plenty Times actually fronted with questions for our media team on that.
Disclosing it to other candidates or during your pre-selection campaign or the actual campaign, do you feel like you've come to Parliament dishonestly?
Look, I fulfilled all my obligations to the party in that I declared it. I was very open in pre-selection around what I had to declare, and I give a full verbal, written and verbal statement on this issue.
Do you think the voters should have had this information provided to them?
I mean, potentially they should have. I wanted to present the person that I am today, who is a significantly different person, almost a totally different person to that 16-year-old back then.
But voters surely should have an opportunity to get to know candidates warts and all, essentially.
Yeah, sure, I can appreciate that as well.
So you think that they should have been aware of that?
It probably, like I mentioned before, in hindsight, we would have been better to get that out earlier.
You said
In
there
your
are
opening
other
remarks,
people
you
who you
talked
may
about
have
being...
hurt. Are there other people who you may have hurt physically like this?
Yeah, potentially, I'm sure I have hurt other people physically and mentally, like I said before, I wasn't a great person at high school. I'm not proud of that person. I was a bully.
Do you have a number of people that you might have potentially...
Physically?
No, I don't.
No.
What other examples has this brought up for you?
Look, it makes me reflect a lot on what school was like and who I was as a person, and contrast that to who I am now, and where I want to be and what example I want to be setting for people.
Are there any specific instances that you've been brought up to you in reflection of this that the voters should know about? Because essentially what you're saying is the voters should have known about this incident, so are there any other incidents that they should know about?
Look, this is by far the worst incident that I was involved in at school.
Does it make you reflect, though, on your law and order policy in the sense that the young people that the national government would throw into jail in similar circumstances to you, who could turn their lives around if they were given some help rather than facing a punitive sanction?
We've been talking quite a lot about social investment, and I would like to see that happen. I can definitely empathise as someone who has been young and made big mistakes, that giving people a second chance is very important. Now, what we talked about more so in the Tauranga campaign was related to gangs, and these are adults who are part of criminal organisations. But as far as younger people are concerned, you need to invest in them. You can't throw them away. You need to work with them. Yeah, well, that's why we need to get in there and work with these people.
You said before that this was by far your worst incident. Could you tell us about any others?
Look, I might have tackled a few people or punched a few people. As I said, I was a bully at school, and I'm not proud of that at all. And I'm apologetic for that. And just to say to people,
after you changed schools.
No, I was there was a bit of a different environment, and at St Paul's, potentially I might have name called people or done something to that effect. I was still a teenager who wasn't a great person, but I was learning my lessons, and I was improving, and I was working hard on myself.
Specific about King's College and the culture there that made you into the bully that you were?
No. You can't blame Kings at all for that. It's me. It's what I've done. It's me to own. It's not an environmental thing.
Given all that's happened in the last 24 hours, do you not see how it would have been so much easier to declare this to the public during the election?
Yeah, frankly, I do. Yeah, it would have been good to get that out there and
You've used the word bully. Do bullies ever really change?
I think anyone can change. I think people can change. I do. Yeah.
What made you change?
I think I just matured and I developed empathy where I didn't really have that previously as a kid, as a teenager. I now have a lot of empathy and a lot of reflection. Yeah.
You
You've
said
been
that
honest
this
about
changed
your
your
background,
path
but what is it that makes you believe now, given how damaging these revelations and the dishonesty has been, what is it that makes you believe that you can have a successful career in politics?
Look, I'm a completely different person. You know, the people that they voted for is a 38-year-old person who's worked hard and, you know, tries to live his life responsibly, and that's a big difference to a 16-year-old who was a bit of a thug,
But
frankly.
do you not see how damaging it's been to you individually and to the party?
I can absolutely see how it's been damaging to me, and it has, quite clearly. And it's also damaging to the party.
And on that basis, will you reconsider your future, or have you drawn a line under it now and you're going to continue?
Look, I really want to stay on as a Member of Parliament for Tauranga. I want to use my position to do good.
You were asked during the election campaign what was your biggest regret, and you said it was that you hadn't come back to New Zealand sooner.
Yeah.
Is that really your biggest regret?
Look, it was probably a bit of a light-hearted comment. In reflection, you know, I didn't, at the time I thought, is this the best, platform to be having that discussion? It was sensitive for other people involved as well, so it was probably a bit more compromised than that in that sense.
Do you have even a rough idea of the number of people that you might have tackled or punched in your past? If you can't remember the exact number, just a rough number.
Oh no, I don't have a number on that. You know, boarding schools were boarding schools, and you know, people push each other around a bit. That doesn't take away from anything at all.
There are so many people that you might have tackled or might have punched that you can't even remember the number.
Like I said, you know, I'm really not proud of who I was as a young person. I'm a greatly changed person, and I'm trying to use my position now for good.
Just going back to Mark's question around, you said in that, being asked that question around your biggest regret or biggest mistake, and you said you reflected on that, whether this was the appropriate format to disclose that, but you didn't disclose it at any point, and it only came out because of the victim coming forward. So when is the right time to disclose it?
The right time would have been during the by-election campaign. I disclosed it to the party, so they had full oversight of it.
Do you wish that they made a different decision?
Look, it's probably something we should have made together and considered differently.
Right, last couple of
What's your message to the victim now, after all this brought up?
Look, I continue to be sorry, and that apology I made last year was genuine. It was deeply genuine, and it's deeply genuine again today. I'm sorry for the hurt that I caused, and I know I saw through the Stuff article his reaction or feelings to me becoming a politician, and that was upsetting for him, and I'm sorry that I've caused more hurt in that regard.
Would you welcome any other people coming forward?
Look, people are welcome to come forward if they want. And as I've said, to other people I might have heard, I am sincerely apologetic. I'm ashamed of that person I was when I was younger, and I'm trying hard to atone and be a responsible person that leads a good life and sets a good example for other people.
Did you have your eye on Todd Muller's seat after he resigned in June of last year? Well, after he said that he was going to retire in June of last year?
Well, it took me a while to even go for this one. I had made efforts to reach out to that person's family member before Todd Muller resigned.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.